Emma had always been drawn to old, abandoned houses. There was something about their silent corners, the way dust settled on forgotten memories, that made her feel alive. So when she and her boyfriend Liam stumbled upon a Victorian mansion at the edge of town, curiosity overcame caution. The house was striking, its once bright paint now chipped and gray, the windows clouded with decades of grime, the gate hanging slightly ajar. An eerie wind whistled through the cracks in the shutters, carrying with it a faint, almost musical creaking. "This place is beautiful, in a creepy way," Emma said, stepping over the broken threshold. "Creepy is an understatement," Liam muttered, rubbing his arms. "Are you sure we should go in?" "Come on, it'll be fun. Imagine the stories we'll tell," Emma replied, her eyes glinting with excitement. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of old wood. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the grimy windows, casting shadows that seemed to move when no one was looking. Emma's attention was immediately drawn to the attic staircase, narrow and steep, its railing worn smooth by time. "Let's check the attic," she said. "Seriously? That's usually where ghosts, hang out," Liam said nervously. "Don't be such a scaredy cat," Emma teased, already climbing. The attic was darker than they expected, its floorboards groaning under every step. A sudden gust of cold air slammed the door behind them. Liam lunged at the knob. "Emma, open it!" But the door wouldn't budge. Then came the first whisper, faint, almost pleading, drifting across the room. "Leave. Leave." Emma's breath caught. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Liam whispered. "Whispers. From over there." She pointed to a dusty trunk tucked in the corner. With trepidation, they approached it. Emma lifted the lid, revealing a collection of old letters and a small, intricately carved music box. The moment she touched it, the box sprang to life, playing a haunting lullaby that echoed eerily through the attic. "Why are you here?" a voice whispered, barely audible, yet unmistakably there. Liam grabbed her hand. "Emma, we should go. Now." Suddenly, the trunk slammed shut on its own. Shadows stretched along the walls, flickering as though alive. Emma's heart pounded, yet she couldn't look away. The music box slowed, then stopped, leaving only silence and the whispers. The couple stumbled down the stairs, but when they reached the front door, it wouldn't open. Panic set in. The temperature dropped suddenly, their breath misting in the air. From the living room window, a figure appeared, an elderly woman, her eyes wide and urgent. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "That attic, it doesn't forgive." Who are you?" Emma asked, voice trembling. "I live next door," the woman replied. "That house, it holds a tragedy. Decades ago, a young girl named Eliza lived there. She was sweet and curious, much like you. One night she disappeared without a trace. Her father died searching for her, and the house has never been the same since. They say her spirit still roams the attic, trapped, searching for anyone who dares enter." The whispers returned, louder now. "Go, go." Emma and Liam glanced at each other, the weight of fear pressing down like a physical force. Liam tried the door again. This time it yielded, swinging open with a groan. They bolted outside, hearts hammering, lungs burning from the cold night air. Once outside, they paused, the mansion looming behind them like a dark sentinel. "Did we survive?" Emma asked. I think so, but we're never coming back here," Liam replied. Emma nodded, though a part of her, stubborn and curious, felt drawn to the house even as they walked away. Behind them, the attic window shivered. A shadowy figure lingered, and a single whisper drifted into the night. "See you soon." Emma shivered, gripping Liam's arm. She didn't need the warning. She would never forget the sound of that lullaby, or the feeling of being watched by a restless spirit whose story had ended long ago, yet continued to haunt the living. The wind carried the faint echo of the music box as they disappeared into the darkened streets, leaving the house and its secrets behind, for now. After the terrifying night in the mansion, Emma couldn't shake the memory of the attic. The music box's eerie lullaby haunted her dreams, and the whispers seemed to echo in the corners of her mind, even when she was at home. Liam tried to convince her to move on, to forget the house, but curiosity burned too fiercely. One afternoon, unable to resist, Emma returned to the mansion alone. She told herself it was research, digging through town archives, interviewing neighbors, but really it was the pull of the unknown she couldn't resist. She wanted answers. The mansion loomed like a dark sentinel as she approached. The gate groaned under her push, and a cold breeze carried the faintest strains of the lullaby she thought she had left behind. Emma shivered but pressed on. Inside, the house was different. Shadows seemed longer, more deliberate, and the air smelled of old paper and something faintly sweet, like forgotten perfume. She climbed the attic stairs slowly, each creak of the wood echoing like a heartbeat. At the top, the attic door seemed to breathe, almost alive. She hesitated, hand on the knob, feeling a strange warmth against her palm. The whispers rose again, clearer than before. "Find me. Help me." Emma stepped inside. The attic was suffused with dust, yet something in the air shimmered, almost like a presence hovering just out of reach. The trunk waited in the corner, lid slightly ajar. She approached, every step measured, her flashlight trembling in her hand. Opening the trunk, she saw the music box atop a stack of letters. The lullaby started on its own, soft but persistent. Then, from the corner of the room, a shadow shifted. A girl, barely visible, standing silently. Emma's breath caught. "Emma." The whisper came again, urgent and pleading. The air grew colder. Papers lifted from the trunk, spinning like tiny ghosts around her. Emma realized the girl's spirit had been trapped here all along, alone, unable to move on. The letters told part of the story. Eliza, a child of the mansion, vanished under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind a family shattered by grief. The music box had been her favorite toy, and somehow it had become the anchor that tied her spirit to the attic. Emma felt a connection, a pull of empathy so strong it was almost physical. She wanted to help, but she also felt the attic tightening around her, pressing, urging her to leave. She stumbled back, taking a step toward the door, but the whispers followed. "Alone, alone." Emma realized the girl wasn't just trapped, she was afraid of being forgotten. And somehow, she needed Emma to remember her, to acknowledge her existence so she could finally be free. Heart-pounding, Emma backed down the stairs and out into the cold evening air. The mansion loomed behind her, silent, but the whisper followed in her mind, echoing with the weight of decades. "Thank you for not forgetting." Emma knew she would return. She didn't know how or when, but something had changed. This was no longer curiosity. This was responsibility. Emma couldn't stop thinking about the mansion. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the dusty attic, the old trunk, and the faint, trembling figure of Eliza. Liam noticed her distraction and asked if she was all right, but Emma could only shake her head. She felt compelled, as if something was waiting for her to return. Several days later, she finally persuaded Liam to go back with her. This time, they brought notebooks, flashlights, and a recorder, convinced they could uncover the truth about Eliza Hawthorne. As they approached, the mansion seemed almost aware. The wind howled through the broken windows, and the gate creaked as though it had been waiting for them. Inside, the house was suffocatingly silent. Every floorboard groaned under their weight. The living room felt darker than before, shadows pooling in the corners, twisting unnaturally. Emma led Liam toward the attic staircase. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, resonating through the empty house. At the top, the attic door stood ominous, waiting. Emma reached for the knob. A sudden chill made her fingers numb, and the whisper returned. "Help me." The door swung open before she could touch it, as though the house itself was inviting her inside. Dust motes floated in the flashlight beams, giving the air an almost tangible texture. In the corner, the trunk sat open, the music box silently waiting. Emma approached it slowly. Suddenly, letters flew from the trunk in a whirlwind, spinning around the attic. Liam stumbled back, shielding his face. The whispers intensified, overlapping. "Alone. Find me. Help me." Emma's heart raced. She realized that the letters weren't just random, they were fragments of Eliza's life, pieces of her childhood left behind in the chaos of her disappearance. She picked one up, brushing off decades of dust. It was a note, written in careful, childish handwriting. "I'm scared. Please don't forget me. I want to play again." The music box sprang to life, its lullaby echoing louder than before. The shadow appeared again, this time clearer. Eliza, a small girl with pale skin and hollow eyes, standing by the trunk. She reached toward Emma, silent tears streaming down her ghostly face. Emma felt a strange mix of fear and compassion. "I won't forget you," she whispered. "I promise." The shadow paused, almost trembling, then faded into the corner. The letters settled back into the trunk, and the room fell silent. But Emma knew this was just the beginning. Liam looked at her with concern. "Emma, I think she wants something more, something you haven't realized yet." Emma nodded. "I think she wants me to uncover the truth, to know why she's still trapped here." They spent hours in the attic that night, documenting the letters, examining the music box, and piecing together the fragments of Eliza's life. They discovered hints of a tragic event: a fire in the basement, a mysterious disappearance, and a father whose grief never allowed him to move on. Eliza's spirit, bound by her childhood memories, seemed caught between worlds. As they left the mansion that night, Emma felt the whispers once more. But they were softer this time, almost grateful. "Remember. Remember me." Emma and Liam walked home under the cold moonlight. They didn't speak much, but each step carried a growing resolve. They knew they couldn't ignore the mansion. They couldn't ignore Eliza. And deep inside, Emma felt that the next visit would reveal secrets far darker than they had imagined. A week passed, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Eliza was calling to her again. The letters, the lullaby, the whispers, they all lingered in her mind like shadows she couldn't escape. She knew she had to return, to confront the mystery that had haunted the mansion for decades. Liam, though hesitant, agreed to go back. This time, they brought cameras, recording devices, and every precaution they could think of, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. As they approached the mansion, the air seemed heavier. The wind whispered through the broken windows, carrying the faintest strains of the music box. Emma's stomach twisted. She felt a mixture of dread and anticipation. Something in the house had changed. It almost felt angry. Inside, the living room was darker, more oppressive. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. Every floorboard groaned under their steps, echoing through the silent house. Emma led Liam toward the attic stairs, feeling a pull stronger than before. The attic door creaked open before they could reach it. The air inside was icy, and the dust seemed to swirl like smoke, forming shapes that danced at the edges of their vision. The trunk sat in the corner, slightly open, the music box silent this time, but Emma could feel it waiting. She approached cautiously. As she lifted the lid, a gust of wind threw the letters into the air, and the whispers grew louder, overlapping, urgent. "Fire. Danger. Remember me." Emma grabbed a handful of letters, her hands trembling. One letter stood out. Its paper was singed at the edges, and the words were barely legible. "The fire came too fast. Father tried to save me, but he couldn't. I couldn't leave. Please, help me remember." Emma's chest tightened. The pieces were coming together. Eliza hadn't vanished by accident. Something had happened in the basement, something violent and sudden. Her spirit had been trapped ever since, reliving those final moments, bound by fear, loss, and unresolved grief. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the attic, and a cold hand seemed to brush Emma's shoulder. She gasped, turning to see Eliza's figure more solid than before. Her hollow eyes were filled with sorrow, and she reached out toward the basement door below the attic stairs. Emma realized this was the key. Eliza wanted them to see the basement, to witness the truth. Liam hesitated. "Emma, are you sure?" Emma nodded, her resolve firm. "We have to. She needs us to know." As they descended the attic stairs, the whispers followed them, merging into a haunting chant. See, remember, save me. The basement door groaned as they approached. Dust and cobwebs coated every surface. Faint scorch marks lined the walls, and the floor was blackened in places. Emma shone her flashlight on the corner where a small pile of charred toys lay, Eliza's favorite things, left behind in the fire. Emma picked up a scorched doll, her hands shaking. She didn't survive. That's why she's trapped. The whispers softened, almost relieved. Thank you. Seeing me. Remembering. But the house wasn't done. A sudden crash echoed from upstairs, and the attic stairs trembled violently. Shadows flickered along the walls, and a cold wind pushed them toward the basement. It was as if the house itself was warning them. The story wasn't over, and dangers lingered in every corner. Emma knew they had uncovered part of the truth, but she also knew that Eliza's spirit was restless. And now, more than ever, she felt that their journey was far from finished. The mansion had secrets still hidden, and each step closer to them brought new fear, new revelations, and the growing certainty that Eliza's story was bound to the house and to them. Emma and Liam stood at the top of the basement stairs, staring at the charred remnants of Eliza's childhood. The air was thick with smoke residue and the faint smell of burned wood. Every instinct screamed for them to leave, but Emma felt an unshakable pull, the need to uncover the full truth, to help the trapped spirit finally find peace. Carefully they descended. The stairs creaked under their weight, echoing through the darkness below. Dust rose like mist with each step, and faint whispers followed them, barely audible at first, then growing louder. See, remember, help. The basement stretched before them, larger than they had imagined, a cavern of shadows and broken memories. Scorched furniture leaned against blackened walls, and remnants of old toys lay scattered across the floor. Emma's flashlight flickered, casting fleeting shapes that looked disturbingly human. She moved closer to a corner where a small pile of charred letters and photographs rested. Picking them up, she saw images of a happy little girl, Eliza, smiling in sunlit rooms, playing with her father. The final photograph was torn, burned at the edges, showing only her hand reaching upward. Emma felt a pang of sorrow. This child had been taken from the world far too soon. Suddenly, the temperature dropped sharply. Their breath became visible in the dim light. The music box upstairs began playing faintly, as if Eliza's spirit was urging them onward. Then came the whisper. Under the floor. The truth. Emma knelt and ran her hands along the basement floorboards. They were warped from the fire, brittle and blackened. A certain panel looked different, newer somehow, and when she pressed down, it creaked ominously. Liam, help me, she whispered. Together they lifted the panel, revealing a hidden cavity beneath. Inside lay a small, scorched chest. Emma opened it carefully, revealing a bundle of letters, a tiny doll, and a locket. The locket contained a photograph of Eliza's father, looking desperate, eyes wide with grief. Emma realized the horrifying truth. In the chaos of the fire, Eliza's father had tried to save her. But something had prevented him from reaching her in time. These hidden objects were the final pieces of her story, the reason her spirit had remained trapped in the house, tied to the attic and the music box. The whispers grew more urgent, now overlapping in a haunting chorus. Remember, free me, free me. Emma held up the locket and whispered, We see you, Eliza. We know what happened. We remember. For a moment, the room went silent. Then, a cold gust swept through the basement, extinguishing their flashlights. When the light returned, Eliza's figure appeared, clearer than ever. She smiled faintly, tears glistening in her spectral eyes. She raised her small hand, pointing toward the attic stairs. Emma understood. The attic was still the key. The fire, the hidden chest, the music box, they were all part of a cycle. Eliza's spirit could not fully move on until the attic itself was confronted, its darkness understood and acknowledged. Liam looked at Emma, fear and awe in his eyes. Are we really ready for this? Emma nodded, determination stealing her voice. We have to be. We can't leave her trapped any longer. The shadows shifted, the whispers softened, and a cold, invisible hand seemed to guide them back to the stairs. Emma and Liam ascended, each step heavier than the last, knowing the attic awaited, and that the mansion still had more secrets to reveal. Outside the basement, the atmosphere felt charged, as if the house itself was alive and watching. The whispers had faded, but their echoes lingered in Emma's mind. Almost free, almost. Emma knew this was far from over. Eliza's story was close to completion, but the mansion would demand everything from them: the courage, the wit, and the willingness to face the darkest corners of the past. Emma and Liam returned to the attic with the chest and locket from the basement. The house seemed to pulse around them, as if aware of what they carried. The wind moaned through broken windows, dust danced in the beams of their flashlights, and the whispers, soft, urgent, pleading, wove around them. Almost, help me. The attic door groaned as they opened it. Darkness stretched before them, heavier than before, almost tangible. Emma could feel her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing like a drum in the silent room. The trunk sat in the corner, the music box beside it, silent now. But Emma knew it held the key. She placed the chest on the floor next to the trunk. Liam's hand shook as he helped her open it, revealing the charred letters, the doll, and the locket. The air grew colder, their breaths visible in white mist, swirling as though stirred by invisible hands. Suddenly the whispers intensified, overlapping into a chorus. Remember, forgive, free me. Emma's gaze fell on the music box. She lifted it carefully. The box creaked open, and the lullaby began to play. Not soft this time, but echoing through the attic like a plea. A shadow moved at the far end of the room. Eliza appeared, translucent yet vivid, standing silently, her hollow eyes fixed on Emma. Emma stepped forward. Eliza, we found everything. Your letters, your toys, your father's locket. We remember you. The girl's form trembled. The whispers became words, clearer now. Finish. Help me. Let me go. Emma realized the music box was the final link. The lullaby, the attic, the chest. They were all part of a circle that had trapped Eliza for decades. She knelt, placing the locket and letters inside the trunk, then gently wound the music box. The attic seemed to breathe. Shadows stretched toward the walls, then receded. A chill swept through the room, but it no longer felt menacing. Eliza's figure stepped closer, her form flickering like candlelight. Emma whispered, "You're free now, Eliza. You can go." The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile. The music box's melody rose, filling the attic with light, then slowly faded. The shadows softened, lifting from the corners, and for the first time, the room felt still, peaceful. Liam exhaled, relief flooding him. Did it work? Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. I think she's finally at peace. The attic door creaked open as if inviting them out. Emma and Liam stepped down, hearts still racing but lighter now. The mansion no longer seemed alive with menace, only silence, the kind of silence that follows the end of a long, tragic story. Outside, the night air was calm. The wind whispered through the trees, and for a moment, Emma thought she heard a soft, grateful voice. "Thank you." They walked away from the mansion, the first rays of dawn beginning to pierce the sky. The house, once filled with whispers, shadows, and sorrow, now seemed still. Emma knew the journey had been dangerous, but it had also been necessary. She had faced fear, uncovering secrets that had remained hidden for decades, and had helped a lost spirit finally find peace. As they reached the road, Emma glanced back. The mansion stood silent, its windows dark. For the first time, she saw it not as a place of terror, but as a home where a tragedy had once occurred, and where she had made a difference. The whispers were gone, replaced by quiet. But Emma knew, deep in her heart, that the story of the mansion and Eliza Hawthorne would never truly leave her. It had changed her. It had left its mark. Days had passed since Emma and Liam freed Eliza's spirit, but the experience still clung to them like a second skin. Emma found herself unable to sleep without thinking of the mansion, the attic, the whispers, the music box, and the little girl who had been trapped for decades. Liam noticed her restless nights and suggested they step away, maybe take a short trip, but Emma refused. Something tugged at her, a quiet insistence that their journey wasn't over. She couldn't explain it, but she felt a presence in her life, like a faint echo of Eliza's spirit lingering nearby. One evening, Emma returned to the mansion, this time alone. The air was still, almost unnaturally calm. The gate, once creaking and threatening, now swung easily. She felt a chill, but not fear. It was as if the house was observing, waiting to see if she remembered. Inside, everything was quiet. Dust lay undisturbed, and the shadows seemed less threatening. She climbed the attic stairs slowly, memories flooding back. The trunk was still in the corner, the music box silent. Emma reached for it gently, and this time, when she wound it, the lullaby played softly, almost tenderly. Then she heard it, a whisper, faint and delicate. "Thank you." But not everything. Emma froze. The attic, once silent after Eliza's departure, seemed to hold a subtle movement, a shadow flickering across the far corner. It wasn't Eliza, not fully. It felt like a residue of the past, a lingering piece of the house itself. She realized that while Eliza had been freed, the mansion's history wasn't entirely settled. There were other memories trapped in its walls, fragments of people who had lived, suffered, and vanished long ago. The house had a way of holding on to what was left behind. Emma felt a mix of awe and dread. She wasn't afraid like before, but she understood that the mansion's whispers were not gone. They had simply changed. Now they were quiet, distant, almost watchful, as if waiting for someone to listen, to remember, to honor the past. She stepped outside into the cool night air, looking back at the mansion. The windows reflected the moonlight, silent and watchful. She knew she had helped Eliza, but the house itself still held stories she might never fully uncover. Emma returned home, a sense of peace mixed with lingering curiosity. Liam was waiting, relief on his face. She smiled faintly, but her thoughts remained on the attic, the hidden corners, and the feeling that somewhere, within the walls of the mansion, something else might still be waiting. That night, Emma dreamt of shadows moving softly through the halls, the faint strains of a lullaby echoing in the distance. She woke with a start, realizing that while Eliza had moved on, the mansion had not forgotten, and perhaps it never would. Emma knew one thing for certain. She had become a keeper of memories, a witness to the lives trapped within the walls of the old Victorian mansion. And deep down, she wondered if one day she might be called back, not by fear, but by the stories that still whispered from the shadows. Weeks had passed since Emma's last visit to the mansion. Life tried to return to normal, but normalcy felt impossible. Even in her own home, she sensed subtle movements, faint whispers that vanished when she turned her head. Liam insisted it was her imagination, but Emma knew better. The mansion had changed her. It had left a part of itself inside her. One rainy evening, Emma received a letter slid under her door. It was unsigned, written in delicate, almost childlike handwriting. "You remember? Come back. There is more." Her heart raced. Liam read it over her shoulder, worry etched into his face. "Emma, maybe this is a bad idea," he said. Emma shook her head. "I have to know. I need to see this through." The mansion was different in the rain. Water seeped through broken windows, pooling on the warped floorboards. The wind rattled the shutters, carrying a chorus of soft whispers. Emma felt the familiar tug in her chest, guiding her upstairs. The attic door loomed, dark and silent. She opened it slowly, flashlight trembling in her hand. The trunk sat in the corner, but the music box was no longer alone. Another box lay beside it, old and unmarked. Emma's pulse quickened. She approached and opened the new box. Inside were fragments of old photographs, letters, and a small diary. Dust rose in spirals as she read the first page, written in hurried, panicked handwriting. "I am trapped. I cannot leave. The house, it takes and holds. It never forgets." Emma's skin crawled. The whispers surged, louder this time, overlapping. Remember, free us, help us. Suddenly, shadows twisted in the corners of the attic, forming shapes like the outlines of people, children, adults, faces distorted with fear and longing. Emma realized Eliza had been only the beginning. The mansion had absorbed the memories, the pain, and the unfinished lives of many who had entered over the decades. A cold wind slammed the attic door shut. Emma spun around. The figures seemed to move closer, not threatening, but desperate. The whispers were now a cacophony, pleading for acknowledgement. See us, remember us, release us. Emma's hands shook as she held the diary and photos. She understood what needed to be done. To free Eliza had been one step, but the mansion's past was far larger than she had imagined. Each fragment in the box was a key, a life that needed to be remembered, a story that needed to be told. Liam's voice broke through her thoughts. Emma, we can't do this alone. She nodded. We won't, but we have to start. If we leave now, all of them remain trapped forever. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the attic in harsh white light. For the first time, Emma saw the faces clearly, children frozen in mid-play, a young man reaching for a door he could never open, a woman with hollow eyes staring at her. Their silent cries pierced her soul. Emma took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. She would catalog every letter, every photograph, every memory she could find. She would speak the names of the forgotten, tell their stories aloud, and in doing so, perhaps release them from the mansion's grasp. The music box began to play again, a soft, haunting lullaby. The shadows paused, watching, almost expectant. The whispers softened, almost guiding her now. Begin. Remember. Begin. Emma's resolve hardened. She and Liam would face the mansion together, unravel the lives trapped within, and bring peace to all of them. One story at a time. The attic was no longer just a room. It was a portal to the past, a repository of sorrow, and a challenge they could not ignore. As rain battered the windows, Emma whispered to the shadows, to the voices, to the lingering spirits, I remember you. I will not forget. I will help you. For the first time, the whispers seemed to quiet, listening, waiting for the story to begin. The following night, Emma and Liam returned to the mansion, armed with notebooks, cameras, and a growing determination. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy, charged with a strange energy. Every step toward the mansion felt like walking into a heartbeat, the house itself alive and watching. Inside, the shadows seemed thicker, almost tangible, coiling along the walls. The attic stairs loomed before them, each step echoing like a drumbeat. Emma carried the chest and diary from the previous visit, feeling the weight of decades of trapped memories pressing against her chest. The attic door opened without resistance, revealing the room bathed in faint, silvery moonlight. Dust swirled lazily in the air, catching in the flashlight beams. The music box sat on the trunk, silent for now, but the new box of letters and photographs lay open, revealing dozens of forgotten lives. Emma felt the whispering immediately, soft, urgent, impossible to ignore. Remember, free us, remember. They began with the letters. Emma read each aloud, softly, one by one, giving voice to the long-forgotten spirits. Names, dates, fragments of daily life. Each read aloud seemed to ripple through the attic, shaking the shadows slightly, loosening the weight that had held them for decades. The figures began to take form, clearer now, no longer threatening, but longing, almost hopeful. A child laughed softly, a young woman's eyes softened, and a man's shadow straightened as if finally being acknowledged. The attic felt alive with memory, grief, and release. Emma moved to the music box, winding it slowly. Its lullaby filled the room, echoing over the voices she had just read aloud. The shadows swirled, dancing in gentle, spiraling motion. The air grew warmer, less oppressive. The spirits were responding. Liam read from the diary, telling the story of Eliza's father, the fire, and the lives lost within the mansion's walls. As each story unfolded, the shadows softened. drifting toward the beams of light pouring from the windows. The whispers became words, clear now. Thank you. Free. Remembered. A sudden gust swept through the attic, scattering the letters. Emma's heart leapt. But this time, the feeling was not fear. The shadows began to rise, swirling upward like smoke toward a single point near the ceiling. A warmth enveloped the room, gentle but insistent. Emma understood. The release was near. Keep going, she urged Liam. Tell them we remember everything, every story, every name. Together, they spoke aloud the memories, the fragments of lives, the tragedies, the laughter that had been lost. The shadows swirled faster, lighter now, becoming less distinct as if dissolving into the air. The music box's lullaby crescendoed, filling the attic with haunting beauty. Finally, the shadows condensed around the music box, rising in a spiral of silver light. The whispers became a single, clear voice. Thank you. We are free. A blinding flash of light filled the room, followed by silence. The attic, once heavy with sorrow, was empty, but peaceful. The air was warmer, calmer, and the oppressive weight that had clung to the house for decades was gone. Emma and Liam collapsed onto the floor, exhausted, hearts pounding, but smiling. They knew that the mansion had been changed forever. The spirits, the stories, the tragedies, they had been honored, released, and remembered. For the first time, the house felt quiet, alive only with memory and history, not suffering. Outside, the wind whispered softly through the trees, carrying the faint strains of a lullaby. Emma smiled, feeling the final presence of Eliza, thanking her for courage, for remembrance, and for peace. The journey was almost complete. The mansion, though still ancient and imposing, had given up its darkest secrets. And Emma knew that when they returned next time, it would not be with fear, but with reverence for the lives that had finally found release. The morning after their attic vigil, Emma and Liam returned to the mansion one last time. The air was crisp, filled with the quiet calm of early dawn. The mansion stood silent, almost peaceful, its once ominous aura replaced by a sense of stillness and history. As they approached the front gate, Emma felt a strange warmth, like the house itself was acknowledging their presence. The door opened easily this time, no creaks, no groaning, only silence. Inside, the living room was calm, sunbeams streaming through the grimy windows, illuminating the dust in golden light. The attic stairs beckoned, but the weight of the past no longer pressed down. Emma and Liam climbed slowly, memories of the previous nights flooding her mind. The attic door opened, and everything seemed unchanged, yet profoundly different. The trunk remained in the corner, the music box resting atop it. Emma knelt and wound it, and the familiar lullaby began to play softly, gently, without the weight of despair it had once carried. She looked around. No shadows moved, no whispers echoed. The attic was empty, but it wasn't empty in spirit. Instead, it felt alive with peace, the traces of the souls they had freed lingering like a warm afterglow. Emma opened the chest once more. The letters and diary were carefully placed back inside, and she touched each one gently. "We remember you," she whispered aloud. "Every story, every life." Suddenly, a soft breeze swirled through the attic, carrying with it the faintest sound of a child laughing, delicate and joyful. Emma's heart ached with both sorrow and relief. She knew it was Eliza, finally at peace, her spirit free to move on at last. Liam smiled, putting a hand on her shoulder. "It's over. We did it." Emma nodded, but as she glanced around the attic, a subtle movement caught her eye, a shadow flickering across the far wall, barely visible. It wasn't threatening. It was small, fleeting, almost as if the house itself remembered them, acknowledging their presence, whispering thanks in a language beyond words. Emma felt a shiver of recognition. Though the trapped spirits were gone, the mansion still held memory. Its walls had absorbed centuries of lives, lives full of joy, fear, sorrow, and laughter. And now, thanks to their courage, those memories were honored. They left the attic, descending the stairs slowly, savoring the quiet, carrying with them the weight of history they had uncovered. and the relief of knowing the spirits were finally free. Outside, the sun broke fully over the horizon, illuminating the mansion in golden light. It was no longer a house of terror. It was a monument to remembrance. Emma looked back one last time, smiling faintly. The mansion stood silent, ancient and dignified, and for the first time she felt no fear, only respect. She and Liam walked away, the wind carrying a final, gentle whisper. "Thank you. We are free. We are remembered." Though the house still held its mysteries, Emma knew some stories had endings. Some shadows had finally found the light, and in her heart she would always remember. Courage and compassion could release even the darkest of trapped souls, and remembering the past could bring peace to both the living and the departed. The mansion remained, waiting quietly for the next story, the next visitor. But for Emma and Liam, this chapter had closed. They had faced fear, uncovered truth, and freed spirits that had been trapped for decades. And as they disappeared down the road, the wind seemed to carry a faint, lingering melody, a lullaby of gratitude, echoing across time. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales.